I'm very glad to welcome Antony Cook. Antony is the Corporate Vice President, Deputy General Counsel of Microsoft. Welcome, Antony.
Thank you.
I would like to start the conversation from the ChatGPT. I was trying to use it yesterday for a presentation here in Delphi. And when it was launched, it seems to be that it was a big change. When do you realize that the world is about to change using AI?
So, in some senses, certainly from Microsoft's perspective, AI has been around for a while. We've been working on this for, since 2016. And it is something that, we see the sort of predictive components of AI have been with us for quite some time and have been an important part of the digital transformation we've been seeing in companies. But I think with, in November 2022, you had ChatGPT really came onto the scene, and we had a partnership that we'd been working on for about the last 5 years with OpenAI. And so that's been something that we then saw, a technology really accelerated at an amazing pace. And so, it got to 100 million users in 3 months, which was at the time when you think of things like the use of Facebook, and it took 7 years to get to 100 million users, just this extraordinary acceleration. And I think there's the couple of areas that really were moments that I would say were defining from my perspective. And, I touched upon these a little bit in the panel I talked about yesterday, but one of them is very personal in the sense of just being able to the way in which the technology has made just a fundamental difference to the way that I'm able to use my time. And so, one of the uses that really struck me was that suddenly I had a tool where instead of going through all my email and reading the email and answering the email, I could use the Microsoft technology, the Copilot, to basically summarize my email and to prepare drafts for me. And so almost instantaneously, I'm saving an hour and a half a day just by using technology, that you realize there are boring things, mundane things, routine things as part of my job that I can now have an assistant, and essentially from a technology perspective, to help me deliver those.
You also mentioned the AI-powered assistant, the Copilot. I think it's generally available for all businesses, large and small, with no minimum number of users. And I would like to ask, how is this changing the business landscape?
One of the things that the Copilot does is, I think, put some of this incredible technology into people's hands to then be able to use it. And, if I take the description of the way that I used email, and, in a sense, the way that the technology has been priced is for $1 a day, you can save, or I could save, more than an hour of time. And so whether that's for a large organization or, frankly, more often, and I've done a number of roundtables with our small and medium customers, the customers that often are subject to less resources than large enterprises, the ability for the technology to be used to assist in dealing with administrative and day-to-day tasks that then allow organizations to really focus their efforts on what's their value proposition for their customers. That's where I think we're seeing a lot of really immediate focus and benefit from the technology.
For the small enterprises, it is more a matter of cost or of a trust to adopt AI?
I think we're seeing a rapid adoption. So the cost is not seen as a significant barrier. Of course, it does cost something, and so you're accessing the technology. So it does need to be, costed into the way that IT is run in the organisation. But as I said, if you start to get the benefits, then for the $1 a day, you can use the technology that's seen as a value proposition. And I do think that we are seeing this topic of responsible AI and building the trust in the technology is incredibly important. And it's incredibly important because it's touching every aspect of a business, that they can't afford for the technology to create brand issues or to create trust issues with their own customers. And so the way in which we are talking about how we're building in the capability of responsible AI into the actual development of the technology to make sure that it is trusted, that it does address some of the concerns that have been raised in a broader societal setting, I think that's been really important as well.
Could you describe your core commitments for your customers, for example?
So, I mean, this started for us really as a journey over the last, really since 2016, when we started to look at developing AI functionality into our product set. And like many companies at that time, we announced a set of principles. And the principles are, very, very important anchors that have defined the direction of what we've done. So they touch areas like fairness. They touch areas like transparency and accountability, like reliability and safety and privacy and security. But what we've seen and what we believe is really critical in engendering trust with the technology from our customers is to be able to take principles and to be able to demonstrate how those principles are then being applied through the development of our technology into actual engineering practice. And so we have developed an internal standard, it's public, and we publish it available for our customers, that really shows how you take a principle like fairness and you translate it into engineering practices, and then you provide transparency notes, so relatively clear reading documents that explain what we've done, how we've done it, and how we're engineering our products to do that. Microsoft has a big responsibility as a developer of the technology, but if we're truly going to have an ecosystem that creates the sort of excitement and opportunity for AI, it's going to mean that as organizations use the technology, they also think about how they're using it in their organizations. And so what we've done is spend a lot of time through what we think of as our customer commitments to support them in their journey by making content and information available as to how can they implement practices that align with a responsible AI framework in order to be able to use the technology itself, because that ecosystem of trust is, I think, going to be most important for all of our collective customers.
We have together the General Manager of Microsoft for Greece, Cyprus and Malta. So we would like first comment, Jan.
I think we have a unique opportunity as a country to have access to technologies that in the past it was not possible because major investments in infrastructure were needed. Now with the cloud and AI, this is democratized. So actually we have this unique opportunity that at the low entry cost, we can start experimenting. And as Antony mentioned, the Greek government has the ambition to lead with AI within EU. And you have all checked, I guess, by now the My AI Gov, which is the first, let's say, effort. As Microsoft, we have seen also a culture shift. So actually, we see, 7 of the top companies in the country were engaged in the preview of Copilot amongst the top 600 companies in the world. And this is a great sign, and this number doubles every 3 months. So, there is a great willingness for adoption. So, given the status, I would like to ask you, Antony, what would you recommend to the CEOs as key strategies to accelerate AI adoption and drive business-led innovation?
Number one is really using the technology and encouraging the use of the technology for the different business contexts that you will find. And we are seeing that the companies that do that, tend to accelerate faster. And I think that's reflected in, IDC studies are showing that about 76% of organisations across Europe are engaged in AI. And so I do think it's a competitive issue for organisations to think about how it can help them on the cost side, but how it can also help them from an innovation and productivity side. And I think the other thing that I think we're seeing is the importance of then integrating it across a company strategy. So this is not a technology thing, and so it does, particularly given this audience, this is a topic where we see CEOs and we see the senior leadership teams of organisations, and frankly often boards. I've spent a lot of time with boards over the course of the last 6 to 9 months, talking to them about how to think about AI as part of an overall business strategy.